Where's my paper?
What? Your Hobbit paper?
Yeah. What'd you do with it, you fucker? Let me tell you a story. Now, we all knew that kid in school who never did any of the work but plagiarized all of their papers. Well, that kid had a friend, and his name is Peter Jackson. Because he doesn't steal other people's shit. He copies the papers he turned in last year. But this is his senior year, and he's graduating. And he doesn't give a fuck what you think. It's all drinking and parties and getting fat on life.
Oh, class? Fuck it. I'll wait another 5 minutes before I get out of bed.
And I'll just turn in that paper that I used last year.
Yeah, I know those people. They're assholes.
It says right here that 48 frames per second of a shitty movie is still just a shitty movie.
What do we give this movie? The first Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, I think it's called, even though nobody really uses that title. Yeah, I gave it a C when I first saw it. I gave it a C.
You were debating C-.
I was debating C-, but this one does actually have characters, as hard as that kind of say. There's parts, little remnants that you can be like, okay. So it doesn't really qualify for the C-, but it's nowhere near C+.
Yeah, I was originally going to give it a C+, but then I saw the second movie, and that gets a C+. It's a full letter grade of difference. My reasoning is that it's between a C and a C+, and the second one is between a C+ and a B-, but we have to clearly round down in this case. You're right.
So, The Hobbit, the beginning literally lasts for almost about an hour. It's about 45 minutes. And it goes fucking nowhere in those 45 minutes. It's not to say that it's exactly boring, but fluffy pointlessness is probably more of a direct definition of what the fuck's going on here. And we're almost halfway through a normal 2-hour movie, but nope, 3 hours for this motherfucker.
It's just they did it wrong. You're talking to Frodo at the beginning and reminiscing. Oh, let me think back to my adventures. Oh, that was fun, wasn't it, Frodo?
I was okay with Frodo popping up, just walking around in the background, and then Bilbo going, oh, a long time ago, and writing in his book. And then if we just went straight into the movie after that, okay, we got the Lord of the Rings plot, we got Bilbo writing the book, kind of establishing a point between Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, getting that thematic quality there. But then Frodo has fucking lines, and they're talking about the plot points of the Lord of the Rings, and this is the Hobbit movie, and they're already talking about the party and shit. Points that are never gonna come up with this fucking film because they don't matter to The Hobbit.
It doesn't feel like we're in the moment. It feels like, oh, we've already seen this story, we've already lived it, now we can just like look back on it like a fond memory. It's not like you're in the shit and you're about to fucking die because Gollum's gonna eat your face off. I never once for a second thought that that was a possibility.
After they leave the Shire, or after they start on their journey, and then they start talking about the mines of Moria and the war and fighting Asgard, the albino orc. Fuck you. It's just the prologue battle in the first Fellowship movie. You got the same music of the Asgard, dun, dun, dun. His grandfather dies, and then they fight. Oh no! Cutting off the arm, cutting off the finger. Dun, dun, dun.
There's only a few things that I liked about that. The beheading was kind of odd. I thought going into it, well, that's kind of bold to have that kind of imagery on this movie. And then it turns out to be a kid's movie. Either one or the other.
I felt like this movie was confused on what it wanted to be. It either was super lighthearted or wanted to be Lord of the Rings. Connect them to Lord of the Rings, but make them independent of themselves, but you don't need to make them childish. You don't need to put in all these jokes, all these stupid things that add nothing to the movie.
What really bugs me about that is all of the CGI animals, and then when Saruman's minions corrupt them, they couldn't even let the fucking porcupine shitbag animal die because that would be too real. It would offend kids. I don't know what is PETA gonna fucking break down your doors and say, Peter Jackson, you motherfucker, you kill a CGI porcupine. So the first Hobbit is like episode 1 of Star Wars. We don't know who the protagonist is. Is it Thorin? Is it Gandalf? Is it Bilbo? Is it Obi-Wan? Is it Qui-Gon Jinn? Is it Anakin? Radagast is Jar Jar Binks. But it's come to my attention, I'm not the first person who came to that conclusion. I looked it up on the internet right after I thought of it, and sure enough.
So what it means to be a Jar Jar Binks is a childish character meant for childish jokes and antics and brings absolutely fucking nothing to the plot or story. That is a Jar Jar Binks. A worthless, pointless, money-grabbing character so little kids can be like, yay, mommy, let's go see this movie! money! With all 5 of the family members. Money, money, money.
Now, in the Fellowship, how they got to Rivendell was a cool kind of chase scene and whatnot. But the chase scene that leads up to getting to Rivendell is going from environment to environment. They're hiding in the trees, and it's nighttime. I don't know if it's nighttime, but they're hiding in the trees, or make a run for it. And then they're in the plains, and there's not a fucking tree around. There's just a bunch of rocks, and they're still like running. They're like, run faster! And then they're at the next place, which is there are sporadic trees around. You could tell this is just like 200 miles away from that last place that they were at. And then it gets better. There's a rock over there. That's a very special rock because it goes deep underground. And when they get in there, the orcs can't follow them. Then they take a few steps. They have some meaningless dialogue. And then they're in Rivendell. Because this like little cave opens up to fucking Rivendell. Oh wait, unless there are days that pass in between. I can't tell. The movie doesn't show us days that pass. Just saying, oh, I wonder if these caves are gonna be the fucking death of us.
And the second film actually worked. It worked in the fact that they were like, okay, fuck all this meandering bullshit. Let's just get straight to the plot here. And this one, it was more, this was the meandering bullshit. This was them just running down for the super chase scene for that we didn't really give a fuck about. So they go into Rivendell. And it gets better because Elrond and Gandalf and Thorin are talking. You start getting a little bit more character there. And then Bilbo's talking more of the dwarfs. But then they fuck it by completely pissing all over Rivendell. That's legitimately what happens there. You don't even get a sense of how majestic or ancient Rivendell is. We got that in the past movies. Here, no, it's just dwarfs throwing shit everywhere and the elves just being like, tisk, tisk, tisk.
Well, now that could have been a deleted scene because we did watch the extended version of The Hobbit, and I had seen the theatrical version in the theaters, but I can't remember those scenes specifically. Like, I don't remember the Goblin Town song. It was interesting. It was terrible, but you know what? At least it was a second song that I can identify with The Hobbit and not The Lord of the Rings. Down to Goblin Town, down to Goblin Town.
Fuck the Goblin King. He was just almost another Jar Jar Binks.
He was, your mind tricks want to work on me. Yeah. Only money.
The entire scene was comic relief, and it just completely drained everything that we could even care about what was going on here, because it was like, oh, Goblin King, he's fat, and they sing, and they got little midget goblins to send messages.
For as small as this compliment is, I did like a few of the scenes when they're fighting through Goblin Town. I did feel that was kind of going back to what the original trilogy was, and to actual hand-to-hand fighting on small places where you're getting close to these characters, and you can tell who's fighting. You can tell which dwarf it is. So the other thing I liked, and I thought this would be the exact same scene where the ring falls onto Bilbo's finger, just like it did with Frodo and when he's in Bree. But I like that they did something different, that it danced onto his finger. Like it had to decide if it wanted to go onto Bilbo's finger. The ring was making a choice, a decision about whether to leave, whether it was the right time, this was the right person to pick, because this was like the deciding moment for it. Like I could gather that, the ring reacting, interacting.
I like that because you can compare the ring to Bilbo and the ring to Frodo, where the ring to Bilbo, it has that choice. Ring to Frodo, fuck no, it's going straight on that finger because fucking ring wraiths are right there. It has that reasoning to go straight on Frodo's finger, where on Bilbo's case, like you said, deciding factor.
But that's another plus one to the Fellowship.
Everything that the Hobbit does, the Fellowship seems to do either really good equally or just even better. It's never lesser.
So every piece of dialogue is pretty much ripped from The Lord of the Rings, especially in the first Hobbit movie. I mean, probably somebody's already done this, but I want somebody out there to put a side-by-side comparison between the entirety of that movie and the entirety of Lord of the Rings. Match up the scenes and where they come from, because I'll bet that over 70% of The Hobbit is ripped from the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I want to talk about Gazgog, the white fucking orc. This guy is basically supposed to be Lurtz, right? But we don't give a fuck about this guy because he wasn't threatening. He just would chase them and then they'd run away and then he'd growl at them and stare and then they'd run away again and then he'd do the exact same fucking thing. And then it just keeps going on until Thorin has this big fight, but we don't even give a fuck. On the other hand, with Lurtz, this guy was menacing as fuck. Saruman pulls him out of the earth. They're referencing that he's like an ancient kind of creation, and he puts that white handprint on him. So we're like, okay, Lurtz is a big fucking deal.
But the most important thing there is the lack of dialogue. because the only two things he says are find the halfling and find the halfling.
You have Boromir, Aragorn, Gandalf, and all of them are like, fuck that guy, let's get the fuck out of here. No, 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 no. It was building us up by the characters' fear of Lurtz and their desperation, and by the time Lurtz gets there, he wrecks their shit.
Lurtz has this particular quality because of his effect on the other characters. Because he forced Boromir and Merry and Pippin to retreat. He forced them into a really bad situation, in which case Boromir sounded the Horn of Gondor, which was his last desperate plea for help, and the others just failed to get there in time. He destroys the Fellowship and he demoralizes them almost to the point of giving up. Just one Uruk-hai could create that much destruction. That is the point of an antagonist who is ambiguous, and we don't need to know more about them.
Because the characters' reactions towards that antagonist are everything that we need to know. You go to Asgard, we don't fucking care about him. They're always running, so it wasn't really fear, it's just they were always doing that. When it gets to him, we didn't feel them being like, oh, we should be scared of this guy. They're just pissed and angry and whatever.
You know, when they're falling hundreds of feet through Goblin Town, I never once thought, oh, they're gonna splatter all over the ground and you're gonna have to pick up dwarf guts. There's no fear of heights or fear of death in the Hobbit movies. Again, going back to the Fellowship, it meant something when Aragorn jumped off of that stand onto the Uruk-hai and yelled Elendil. That meant something. Viggo Mortensen chipped his tooth on that. He wanted to do the scene himself. It mattered. You can tell it matters to the actors. It matters to the story. There's that depth to it. But there's not in The Hobbit. You can't say, oh, I chipped a tooth falling 100 feet down a CGI well. To equate this journey with the Fellowship, they're the opposite. It could have been a good opposite, but it's a bad opposite. Thorin's an asshole. He's unfriendly to everybody, and the dwarves are kind of just awkward. I don't want to be a part of this.
See, the thing is, there is that semblance of, man, this journey would be awesome. You want to be a part of this journey. You want to be a part of this Hobbit group. And then when they get in the second movie, you want to look back at all these characters and all the shit they've been through. But then it pulls you out because it never gave that to you.
Yeah.
You never got to that point. The story and premise, of course, was great because of, the Hobbit book. And they took that, and it's just they didn't implement it right.
I would have liked it if Gandalf's trying to get this party together and they're all reluctant to go. And then they're just, all right, this journey is for shits and giggles. It's for touring this countryside. I want to see the sights. I haven't been to Rivendell. I haven't been to the mountains. That's what Sam was doing in the Fellowship. We're going to take a little journey. All right, maybe we need to. It's not just because we have to destroy the ring. It's something for ourselves. This is just Gandalf putting together a bunch of odd people, especially Bilbo, and using awkward situational comedy to develop his character, which is like, don't dwarves, don't eat that. That's very, you can't. When did any of the hobbits from the Fellowship ever do that? When were they ever so fucking awkward as shit and be like that? Like they are an American audience member. That's what I felt like. Somebody in the audience next to me. Yeah, I can totally relate to that guy because he feels awkward as shit amongst people who are fucking weird.
It would have been great if these dwarves were lazy almost because they have such long lives, so they're not in super hurry. And so they're meandering and they're just going off in the woods, and Gandalf's like, God damn it, get back here, you little shits. Let's go on this goddamn journey. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they start dispersing a little bit. He's like, you motherfuckers.
The dwarves were off drinking. Gandalf would be like, no drinking tonight. And they'd be like, oh, just a pint. And Bilbo would be like, you should drink because I don't want to go on this journey. Let's meander some more. And he would be the troublemaker.
And we get this dynamic group of them all kind of participating in that.
Actually make it a different story. Make it interesting. Make it characters that interact with each other. And okay, spend an hour at the beginning doing that and creating many conflicts amongst them that you can explore in later films.
Like this video if Peter Jackson and George Lucas are smoking the same pipeweed.
Dislike this video if you think Disney should buy the rights and make a sequel to The Lord of the Rings.
Spoiler. Ooh. Fucking intro. Fucking house. Just fucking fuck it. Fucking Radagast. Fucking pointless. Fuck him. Just fucking scared shitless face and it's like, oh, you're gonna kill me, motherfucker? Fuck you.